Good morning, everyone. Someone once said the most important things in life aren't things. The most important things in life aren't things. In this week's Torah portion, we begin with the story of Joseph and his dreams. And we all know Joseph had two dreams. And he told these dreams to his brothers, and it made his brothers angry. It made them envious of him. It made them resentful for him, which led to the animosity and the strife in the family, which led to Joseph being thrown into the pit by his brothers, sold as a slave. And we begin now a journey throughout the book of Vayeshev to the story of Joseph and the brothers in Egypt and the famine and the entire episode of the sale of Joseph, the coat of many colors, the jealousy. But it all starts with two dreams. What's the two dreams? Joseph says to his brothers, I had a dream last night. What happened in the dream? I saw that we were out in the field gathering our sheaves of grain, and all of your my sheaves stood up erect, and all of your sheaves of grain bowed down to my sheaf of grain. The brothers were resentful. What are you trying to say? That you're going to rule over us? We're going to bow down to you? You're our baby brother. And then the next day he says, I had another dream. I saw the sun and the moon and the stars, referring to his father, his mother, and the 11 stars, his 11 siblings, are all bowing down to me. And the Torah then goes on to say that when they told their father Jacob about the dreams that Joseph was relating, it says that he rebuked Joseph. He says, what are you trying to imply? We're going to bow down to you? This is what Jacob, the father, said. But the closing words are, Aviv shamar et hadavar, which Rashi says, the father guarded the matter. Rashi said in his heart, he said, I can't wait to see this happen. Outwardly, he rebuked Joseph for relating these dreams, but inwardly, he prayed for it to happen. So the question is, whenever there's two dreams conveying a message, there has to be a nuance between the two. If God wants to communicate to Joseph that he's going to be a ruler, one dream would suffice. Why two dreams? There must be some added dimension to the second dream that was necessary for a second dream. And why is it only when Jacob heard the second dream about the sun and the moon and the stars bowing down to him, he guarded the matter and prayed in his heart for it to occur, versus the first dream about the sheaves of grain bowing down to Joseph? So, last night I was at a dinner, and sitting next to me at the adjacent table was a pretty famous guy who is recognized him by his face. His name is Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell is the inventor of My Pillow. He's always advertising on TV about My Pillow. So obviously I got to know him, and I got to talk to him a lot. And when I got to know him, I gained a lot of respect for him. I always knew he's a great guy. He invented this brilliant pillow that's been sold I don't know how many times over. He's always advertising My Pillow. But when I got to talk to him, I realized that he lives in Minnesota. He flew in last night for this pro-Israel dinner. He's a huge supporter of Israel. He goes to Israel all the time. He's involved in many good causes supporting Israel. But not only that, talking to him, I learned about many other things he's involved in. And most impressively, when I asked him, I said, how did you come up with this idea of My Pillow? Where did it come from? He wouldn't take any credit. He says, God gave me the idea. It was an inspiration from above. I really didn't do anything. God put the idea in my head. And when you meet a person like that, you have new respect for the person. Because until now, you just know he's successful, he's smart, he made a lot of money. Now you realize this is a real person who really cares about important things like Israel and supporting the U.S. Embassy move and things like that. And he has faith in God, and he doesn't take credit for himself. So you gain new respect for a person. A lot of times we respect people for their outer external things, the car they drive, the house they live in, the prestigious job they have. But if you meet them and you say, you know what? This person is a whole lot greater than I thought he was. It's not about his material success. It's about his character, his personality, his integrity, his goodness, his righteousness. And that's the story of Joseph. The story of Joseph is that in the first dream, what's happening? The sheaves of grain are bowing down to Joseph's sheaf of grain. This dream depicted the first stage of the story. When the brothers come to Egypt to buy food, they all bow down to Joseph. But you know why they're bowing down to Joseph? Not because they respect Joseph. They're bowing down to his money, to his power. A lot of people bow to other people in today's world because they got the money, they got the power, they need their money, they need their material sustenance, right? So it's an external respect. And that's the dream of the sheaves of grain bowing down. When the brothers came to Egypt, They bowed to Joseph because he was the viceroy and he was going to provide them with food. So they bowed to the man who had the grain. But then after Joseph reveals himself to the brothers, they bow down to him out of deep respect for him, because they realized that he forgave them, he was righteous, he was magnanimous, he was kind, he was forgiving. And now it wasn't about his power, his wealth, his prestige, his money, his food. It was about the character and the personality of Joseph. So that's the two dreams, the two stages of the story. And therefore when Jacob heard the first dream, my son's going to be wealthy, successful, everyone's going to bow down to his money, that didn't impress him. But when he heard that in the second dream, they will be bowing not to his sheaf of grain, but bowing to him, the sun and the moon and the stars, bowing to the persona of Joseph. That was the prayer and the dream of Jacob. That's a dream I want to see fulfilled. Because real nachas is not if your kids are powerful and successful, everyone bows down to their money. But real nachas is if people respect your child for who they are, for their character, for their personality. In our society, when two people meet, one of the first things that they ask each other is, what do you do? Why is that the most important question? What I do? Why is that so important? Because we're sizing each other up. Are you prestigious? Are you important? Are you powerful? Are you more important than me? The real question should be not what you do, but tell me about what you are, who you are, what you believe in, what you stand for, what your values are. That should be what we determine and base our respect for others on. There's a story told about this girl who graduated from an Ivy League college, valedictorian, and her whole family flew in for the graduation, a beautiful ceremony. She got her award, she gave her valedictorian speech, and afterwards the family was leaving the graduation hall, going to have dinner together at a restaurant. And as they're walking down the street, there's a beggar, a homeless guy on a cardboard box, and he has his little tin can collecting money, and he sees this girl in her gown and cap and family around her, and he says, Julie, how are you? And she says, how are you, Mike? And they start talking, friendly chat, and the parents are looking, what's going on? And then this homeless guy gets up and says, is this your family? He says, yeah, she says, let me introduce my fathers, my mother, my grandparents. And this homeless guy looks at the parents of this girl and says, I want to tell you something. I sit on this corner every day. Hundreds, if not thousands of students pass me on the way to classes every day. Most of them don't even look at me. Some throw a coin in my tin. But your daughter, every day on the way to school, stops. Good morning, how are you? On the way home, good evening. Sometimes she gives me money. Sometimes she brings me leftover food from the cafeteria, her sandwich that she didn't finish. I said, I want you to know you have the most wonderful daughter. God bless you. You should have so much joy from her and be proud of her. When they walked away, the father turned to the daughter and said, Julie, I want you to know, when I watch you get the valedictorian award, and I watch you give that speech as you graduated as a physician from this Ivy League college, I thought this was my proudest moment of my life. To watch my little girl graduate as a physician, as valedictorian from an Ivy League college. But when I listened to that poor man tell me about your soul, about your neshama, about your heart, about your character, that was the proudest moment of my life. Because in the graduation hall, I learned that I raised a very brilliant, accomplished daughter. But what I learned from that poor homeless man is that I raised a daughter with kindness and goodness. That's why we should bow to each other. That's why we should respect one another, for our inner character, not for our external power and appearances.